Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Just a Fun Guy. This is Just a Fun Guy Coins, and normally I would be giving you a video on coins, but today I decided to do something a little bit different. I've given you so many videos about so many cool coins, both American and foreign, but today I was thinking I've given you facts about coins, but not about the guys on the coins. In the U.S., presidents are on the United States coins, from George Washington all the way up to 99% gold pieces with Trump's face on them. So I decided I was going to give you facts about the presidents of the United States. And this is actually a remake of a video I did a year or two ago, but since I've done that video, we have gained a president. And this is definitely something I'm going to have to do every 4 to 8 years if I want it to stay relevant and updated. So with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that bell icon, and well, honor the first president. Take it away, George Washington. The very first fact is going to be about our very first president, George Washington. George Washington's teeth were not made out of wood, despite the popular myth. They were made from hippopotamus ivory, bone, animal and human teeth, lead, brass screws, and gold wire. So where did the theory that they were made out of wood come from? Some historians believed that Washington's fondness for dark wine stained the fractures in his false teeth, giving the look of grainy wood. John Adams was the second president of the United States, and he and Thomas Jefferson, before they became bitter enemies, they were friends, then they became bitter enemies, and then they became friends again. And politics today and politics back in those days, nothing has changed. And I didn't even say politics back in those days was even nastier. But enough about the whole political side of it. Let's just get to the facts. Him and Jefferson, before they hated each other, went to William Shakespeare's home, and they both chipped off a piece of one of Shakespeare's chairs as a souvenir. Thomas Jefferson, the writer of the Declaration of Independence. She is the third president of the United States, and vandalizing Shakespeare's chair isn't the only chair-related trivia. He invented the swivel chair. Something you wouldn't expect from one of the most famous politicians in American history. Jefferson hated public speaking so much that he only gave 2 speeches in his presidency, 1 per term. He also started a tradition of sending State of the Union addresses as written documents to be read at Congress by a clerk. And another fact, both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same day, July 4th, 1826. It's the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. James Madison is the 4th president I am going to discuss today. And James Madison was the president during the War of 1812. And his wife, when the White House was being attacked, grabbed a portrait of George Washington and a couple of important documents, and they both got the heck out of there. And James Madison, his stature is quite small. He was our smallest president, who stood at 5'4", and he weighed about 100 pounds. James Monroe came after him. His first term was called the Era of Good Feelings because of the national unity that followed the end of the War of 1812. He ran unopposed for his re-election. That's something that's only happened once in the other time in the U.S. history, and that was George Washington. The last surviving founding father, Monroe, died on July 4th, 1831, 5 years after both Adams and Jefferson, and died 55 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed. John Quincy Adams is up next. He was the son of John Adams, and he was known for skinny dipping in the Potomac River every single morning. And a reporter took advantage of this information, and what the reporter did was sit on his clothes until she was given an interview. Yes, that's one way to get an interview from the president. Andrew Jackson. This president had a temper. He had a thing for taking it outside. He was involved in an estimated 100 duels, usually because someone said something negative about his wife. In 1806, he was shot in the chest during one of these duels, and in 1813, he took a bullet to the arm in a fight with a senator. Imagine today, Joe Biden pulls a gun on a senator and they have to fight in the middle of the White House lawn. Imagine how viral that would go. You just can't make this stuff up, people. And another fact about him is, it was actually a rumor that Jackson taught his parrot how to curse. And of course it was all fun and games until the parrot had to allegedly be removed from Jackson's funeral because it would not stop swearing. Next up, Martin Van Buren. He had a lot of nicknames. Sly Fox because of his political prowess, Little Magician because he was only 5'6", and Red Fox of Kinderhook because of his reddish hair, and he is from a town in upstate New York called Kinderhook. But the most long-lasting nickname goes to Old Kinderhook, which was used during the 1840 election campaign in the form of his supporters carrying around signs marked OK. The abbreviation became popular around this time, and we still use it to this day. William Henry Harrison. During his campaign, the opposition tried to cast him as someone who would rather sit in his log cabin drinking hard cider. Harrison took this criticism and made spiked lemonade. He handed out in whiskey bottles shaped like log cabins. And Harrison won, obviously. He had the longest inauguration speech ever. It was over 90 minutes and 8,445 words. Unfortunately, it was on a wet, cold day in 1841. He fell ill soon thereafter and died 33 days into his presidency. Next up, John Tyler. He actually has 2 living grandsons. That's a cool fact. But after Harrison's untimely death, there was a disagreement over what power Tyler had as the surviving vice president. He managed to convince everyone he should just become president, paving the way for the 25th Amendment, which made the line of succession official. Everyone pretty much hated him. He was expelled from his own party during his presidency, and his entire cabinet minus one resigned over his policies. And he was the first president who faced impeachment. One newspaper editor called him a poor, miserable, despised imbecile, and the New York Times called him the most unpopular public man to have held any office in the United States, in his own obituary. Upon his death, Lincoln didn't issue a mourning proclamation, and flags were not placed at half-mast. Jeez, he really was hated. I thought Trump was the most hated president in the media, but John Tyler may have topped that. Apparently, James K. Polk was not a party person. He banned booze, card playing, and dancing from the White House. That 4 years he was president must have been real boring. Zachary Taylor is up next. While celebrating the 4th of July on the grounds where the Washington Monument now stands, Taylor snacked on a bunch of cherries and washed it all down with ice milk. Bacteria was present in either the cherries or the milk, leading to his death a few days later. Now, it could have been bacteria, or it could have been poisoned. I'm not sure which, but his death I would consider the most mysterious. Millard Fillmore is the next president up. Millard Fillmore was born in Buffalo, New York, and he has 2 hospitals named after him. The one hospital, I think, got demolished, but there is still one hospital named after Millard Fillmore. And Fillmore married his school teacher. Other than that, historians don't really have much to say about him. Next up, Franklin Pierce. Most people don't remember Pierce because he was pretty unpopular while in office, leading to his own party refusing to renominate him. His reply for being cast out: there was nothing left to do but get drunk. His penchant for the hooch but explained his alleged arrest for running over an old lady with his horse. President 15, James Buchanan. Buchanan holds the record of being the only bachelor to be president, although he may not have been truly single. There was a lot of speculation about his sexuality and close relationship with Alabama Senator William Rufus Kin. The two lived together for more than 10 years, despite being rich enough to own their own homes. When Kin left for France in 1844, Buchanan wrote, "I am now solitary and alone, having no companion in the house with me. I have gone a wooing several gentlemen, but I have not succeeded with any one of them." President 16, Abraham Lincoln. In addition to being the tallest president at 6'4", he was also a really good wrestler. He won all but one of approximately 300 matches. Next up, Andrew Johnson. He was the very first president to be impeached. Johnson didn't have an easy time in childhood either. After his father died, his mother sent him and his brother out as indentured servants to a tailor. Johnson and his brother ran away 2 years later, and the tailor put out a $10 reward for their capture, but they were never apprehended. There is a positive to this story. All the suits that you see Johnson wearing as president, he made those suits all by himself. He made each and every suit that he owned as president. President 18 is war hero Ulysses Grant, U.S. Grant. Grant was actually supposed to be in Lincoln's theater box the night of his assassination, but changed plans at the last minute. He regretted not being there for the rest of his life because he believed he could have stopped it from happening. Or he could have been killed as well. So that could have potentially saved his life as well. Other facts about Grant is he could not stand the sight of blood, which is ironic considering his Civil War history, and he dismantled the Ku Klux Klan during his presidency. They unfortunately regrouped decades later, but he dismantled it for the time being. Rutherford B. Hayes is next up, and a cool fact is that his beard game was unmatched to any other president. He had one of the best beards of any president, and of course that's my opinion, because there's a few other bearded presidents that could match him. But other than the epicness of his facial hair, he was the victor of one of the most disputed elections ever. He lost the popular vote by 250,000, but eked out the Electoral College won by a single vote, winning him his nickname Rutherford and his fraudulency. He was also called Granny Hayes because he didn't drink, smoke, or gamble. James A. Garfield. Garfield was ambidextrous. He could write Greek in one hand and Latin in the other hand at the same time. And if there was somebody who I would have loved to see finish out the presidency, it was Garfield. He had some potential to do some very good in this world, but unfortunately he was shot a few months into his presidency by an assassin, and he died 11 weeks later, but not from the bullet. Doctors tried to find the bullet with a newly invented metal detector invented by Alexander Graham Bell, but the bed springs on his bed kept messing up the results, and the doctors kept opening him up in all the wrong places. And they had unsterilized prying fingers, so it was the infection that wound up killing him, not the bullet. Needless to say, if this happened in 2021, he would have survived. But in 1881, there wasn't much in the way of the medical field. Chester Arthur was next. Arthur wanted the White House completely redecorated, but needed money to pay for all the new furniture. His solution? Sell off 24 wagon loads of historical relics, including a pair of Lincoln's pants and one of John Quincy Adams' hats. The redecoration wasn't the only luxury he took. He also owned an elaborate clothing. He had 80 different pairs of pants, earning him the nickname Elegant Arthur. Next up is Grover Cleveland. He has an interesting presidency because he was president twice. Twice not consecutively, that is. He served the term, lost, then ran again, then served 4 years later. The only president to ever do so. Next up, William McKinley. Not technically, it goes Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, and then McKinley is next. McKinley has a mall named after him in Buffalo, New York, and he was the first president to ride in an automobile. He was also assassinated in Buffalo, New York on September 6, 1901, and ironically, McKinley wore carnations everywhere, and he considered them a good luck charm, but a short time before he was assassinated, he gave a little girl the carnation from his lapel. Next up, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was the first president to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Roosevelt, in 1906, convinced Japan and Russia to attend a peace conference in Portsmouth, New Hampshire to end their conflict. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. Roosevelt also settled a dispute between France and Germany over the division of Morocco. William Howard Taft is the next president. He was known for having that really cool mustache, and he was also known for his waistline. When he was president, he was 6 feet tall and weighed over 330 pounds. Next up, Woodrow Wilson. He was born Thomas Woodrow Wilson in 1856 in Virginia, and he experienced the Civil War in his youth. He was present in Georgia when Union troops entered his town, and his mother tended to the wounded Confederate soldiers. And he actually saw Robert E. Lee as a child. He was 13 years old when him and his father were at a procession in Augusta, and the future president stood next to General Lee at the event. He also went to college and got his Ph.D., and in 1919, incredible stress led to Wilson experiencing a series of strokes. He was left partially paralyzed and almost blind, but continued to stay in office until 1921. He relied on his wife for almost everything for help, and that led to her nickname as the Presidentress. Next up is Warren Harding. Harding had quite the wandering eye. He had an affair with his wife's close friend, Carrie Fulton Phillips, which was revealed through a series of love letters. He also messed around with a woman named Nan Brighton, who wrote a book called The President's Daughter about how her daughter was Harding's. In 2005, thanks to DNA testing, it was proven in fact Warren was the father. Calvin Coolidge. He had some pretty unusual things done in the White House. One of them was a morning ritual of somebody rubbing Vaseline on his head while he ate breakfast. The unusual also extended to his choice of pets. He had 2 raccoons named Reuben and Rebecca who would sometimes run around the White House. Herbert Hoover. Not to be outdone by Coolidge's odd choice in pets, But the 31st president's son had two pet alligators who also ran around the White House grounds. Hoover and his wife lived in China for a time and would speak Mandarin in the White House, but they wanted to have a private conversation. Rumor has it that Hoover requested servants to be invisible. Their choices: jump into closets or hide when Hoover enters a room, or be fired. Next president on the list, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was obsessed with his dog. He had insisted on being the only one who was allowed to feed him, and even made his dog an honorary Army private during World War II. His dog was so popular with the press and the American public that he became the subject of a comic strip, and MGM even made 2 movies about him. Fala was the dog's name, is the only pet to be immortalized in a presidential memorial alongside his owner. Next up is Harry S. Truman. The S in his name doesn't stand for anything, it's just there, which I find kind of funny. He met his wife, Bess, which that's the person next to him in that picture, in Sunday school when he was 6. And they lived a long time together. And his wife, Bess Truman, had a nice long life as well. She lived to the ripe old age of 97 years old. President Eisenhower was next, Dwight D. Eisenhower. In the spring of 1954, the American Public Golf Association installed an outdoor putting green just steps away from the Oval Office. To the dismay of Eisenhower, who was an avid golfer, the squirrels who roamed the White House grounds continually dug up the putting greens to bury their acorns and walnuts. The next time you see one of those squirrels go near my putting green, take a gun and shoot it, he ordered his valet, Sergeant John Mooney. The Secret Service, however, wisely avoided the use of guns, and instead the groundskeepers trapped the squirrels and released them back into Rock Creek. JFK, John F. Kennedy, the youngest president to ever hold office and the first Catholic in office. He received $1 million on his 21st birthday. All 9 of his brothers and sisters got the same. But that generosity did not extend to the Harvard recommendation letter his father wrote for him. He wrote that Jack was careless and lax application. He got in anyway. Next up, LBJ, President Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson had an amphibious car. That's a car that you could drive both on land and on water. And he didn't tell everyone he had an amphibious car. And so when he would take guests out on a ride, he would fake lose control and plummet into the water, only for the car to be drivable on the water. He pranked a lot of people with his amphibious car. Next up, Jimmy Carter. Carter isn't well known for the stuff he did when he was president, but the stuff he has done since he has been president. Carter has done a lot of humanitarian work and works for the Habitat for Humanity and has even won a Nobel Peace Prize. And Carter is actually the oldest living president. He is 96 years old. Next up is the nation's 40th president, Ronald Reagan. Reagan regularly consulted with an astrologer, Joan Quigley, before making decisions and scheduling big events. The first Bush to take office, George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, whatever you want to call him, he was one of the youngest pilots to join the Navy. He joined the Navy at age 18 after Pearl Harbor, instead of heading to Yale. Bush was shot down while on active duty in the Pacific in 1944. He had the Distinguished Flying Cross among his medals. And when Bush went to Yale after the Navy, he met Babe Ruth while playing baseball there. He was the captain of Yale's baseball team during his senior year, and there was a photo of Bush and the Bambino posing together several months before Babe Ruth's death. Next up is the president that I was born under, Bill Clinton, William J. Clinton. and he could play the saxophone. And in fact, he played the saxophone on a live TV once. Bush 43. George W. Bush, in high school, he was the head cheerleader of his high school. Obama. In addition to being the first black president we've ever had, he experienced working at a Baskin-Robbins as a teenager, and that made him hate ice cream. And in high school, he used to be called Obama for his basketball skills. Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. Trump never drank alcohol. He abstained from drinking alcohol several years ago because he saw what alcoholism did to his older brother Freddie, and Freddie died at the age of 43 because alcohol had consumed his life and eventually killed him. And Trump, before he was in the political life, teamed up with Milton Bradley to release a board game called Trump the Game, which shared some popular real estates with the board game Monopoly. The Trump branded game saw disappointing sales and was soon retired, though it was released 15 years later after Trump had found increased fame as the star of the show Apprentice. And finally, the most current United States President, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the oldest person to ever become president and to serve as president. Joe Biden is currently 78 years old. Well, those were 46, well over 46 facts on the 46 presidents of the United States. I decided to change pace and give you facts about the guys on the coins because the last time I did this, I had a buttload of fun, and the last one I did is outdated, so might as well kill two birds with one stone and have fun while doing it. My name is Just a Fun Guy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell icon. And for any coin-related facts, just keep on this channel. And if there's a coin question or something you don't want to comment on the video down below, just email me at justafunguy@gmail.com. Follow me on Facebook and Tumblr. My Facebook is Just a Fun Guy, and my Tumblr is FunGuyMan001. So, with that being said, I am signing off. So long, YouTube.